Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff release window confirmed. The new Yellowstone spinoff that follows Beth and Rip's journey after the flagship now has a release window. Starring the two returning core cast members, Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser, the new Paramount series, set to start filming soon, will explore their lives after the events in Yellowstone Season 5 as they establish their own ranching legacy. According to Paramount Global's Q1 2025 earnings call transcript via Market Screener, the Beth and Rip spinoff, reportedly titled Dutton Ranch, will arrive in November alongside Season 2 of Taylor Sheridan's Billy Bob Thornton headline series, Landman. The new series will premiere on the Paramount Network and be available to stream on Paramount Plus the following day. The Q1 earnings call confirms that the Yellowstone franchise remains Paramount Global's top-earning property domestically and internationally. Due to the huge success of the franchise and related Taylor Sheridan shows, the company has plans to expand the Yellowstone universe with 3 new series. Dutton Ranch, which will arrive in the 4th quarter, is the next series in the franchise, followed by the first procedural, Why Marshals, in the 1st quarter of 2026, and 1944 later in the year. Landman and 1923 are the top 2 engagement drivers in the 1st quarter. The Billy Bob Thornton series return alongside Dutton Ranch in November also marks a huge season for fans who enjoy Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western shows. As of April, filming has been underway for Landman Season 2. The release window suggests that production might be wrapped soon, which would free Sheridan to focus more on the Beth and Rip spinoff. With the series' production status still unknown, Yellowstone's November return sounds like a very ambitious plan, but Sheridan is known for his swift action and killer execution, so the chances for him to pull off 2 shows at the same time are high. Even then, Yellowstone's Dutton Ranch spinoff, if it arrives according to the current schedule, is going to set a record for Sheridan, who also has other projects in various states of development. When looking at past Yellowstone spinoffs and other Sheridan shows, 1923 Season 2 started filming in July 2024 and hit the streaming platforms in February, which marked a 7-month turnaround for the show's creator. Landman Season 2's return in November has a similar turnaround, so the news isn't exactly shocking. However, this doesn't seem to be the case for Dutton Ranch, which is expected to arrive in 4 months or so. Montana burned behind them, not in flames, but in memory. Beth Dutton didn't look back. Not once. Rip Wheeler did, just once, through the rearview mirror, where the grand silhouette of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch faded into the smoky dusk. It had taken years of blood and battle to realize it, but it was time. The war was over, and for once in her life, Beth was not fleeing the wreckage. She was walking into something unknown, something of her own. They settled in a rugged stretch of Wyoming, just south of the Bighorn Mountains. Land so wild, even the wind didn't ask permission. Rip bought a rundown ranch with a skeletal barn and acres of stubborn, untamed pasture. Beth, to no one's surprise, named it Blackthorn. She said it sounded like a threat. Rip liked that. But this wasn't a retirement story. Blackthorn was a new beginning, one with sharp teeth. Chapter 1. The Queen and Her Cowboy. Beth spent her mornings barefoot on the porch, a coffee in one hand, cigarette in the other, fire still in her veins. The sun didn't dare rise without checking with her first. She wasn't looking for peace. Peace was for people who hadn't earned their scars. But solitude, that she could tolerate. Rip worked the land like he owed it something. The hard soil, the unbroken horses, the ghosts. Every fence post he drove was a prayer to forget. Every calf he branded was a promise to stay rooted. They didn't say much to each other during the day. They didn't need to. Beth could feel him in her blood, same way the storm always knows when the thunder's coming. At night, they'd sit in the silence, her curled like a flame in his arms, and remember how far they'd come to find a home. Neither of them started the day Sheriff Calhoun came knocking. He was lean and sharp, like he'd been carved out of bad decisions and righteous anger. He asked about the missing cattle up north, about the bar fight in Red Lodge, about the old woman in Shell who swore she saw a black truck with Montana plates near the creek the night her barn burned down. Beth leaned against the doorway, daring him to blink. "Sheriff," she drawled, "you've got 3 seconds to get off my porch before I start decorating it with bullet holes." Rip didn't say a word, but Calhoun left. Trouble, however, stayed. Chapter 3. The Wilds We Carry. The ranch next door was owned by a man named Jesse Holloway, rich, slick, and snake-bellied. He had oil money and bad manners, and he'd taken one look at Beth and decided she was just another prize to hang on the wall. Beth, for her part, decided he was a walking lawsuit. When he offered to buy Blackthorn, Rip said no. When he offered again, Beth laughed. When his men put up wire across the cattle trail, Rip cut it. When they cut a horse's tendon and left it to die, Rip didn't speak for a week. He sharpened tools. They didn't start this war, but Rip and Beth had never needed a reason to finish one. Chapter 4. Bloodline. Summer brought a storm in the form of a teenage girl, Riley. She showed up at the ranch like a stray, half-wild, half-starved, all attitude. Said she was looking for the woman who burned her name into this land. Beth didn't need a paternity test to see the resemblance. Riley was Jamie's daughter. That bastard's legacy had managed to survive after all. Beth didn't trust her. Rip didn't know what to make of her. But she worked harder than any ranch hand they'd had and wrote like her soul depended on it. And Beth, despite every voice screaming otherwise, saw something worth saving. Blackthorn had a new rider. Chapter 5. Burn it all. Jess Holloway didn't take the hints. When fire spread through the west pasture and ash painted the sunrise, Beth stood with Rip at the edge of the scorched earth and said, "It's him." Rip nodded. He didn't ask how she knew. Some truths you don't explain. You just load the shotgun. They rode into Holloway's estate like ghosts wearing cowboy boots. Beth burned the contracts he'd filed to claim her land. Rip torched the oil rig he'd started sinking on federal soil. By dawn, Holloway was gone. His empire collapsed under legal pressure, rancher fury, and one anonymous tip to a federal agent who used to owe a Dutton a favor. Beth didn't kill him, but she made damn sure he'd rather be dead. Chapter 6. What grows in ashes? Time did not tame Beth Dutton, but it softened her edges enough to let light through. Blackthorn bloomed, not the way Yellowstone had, with armies and legacy and iron-handed rule, but with stubborn horses, hard-earned peace, and a kind of love that knew when to leave the past behind. Rip bought a guitar. Beth called it ridiculous until he played it under the stars one night, and she cried without knowing why. Riley stayed. She rode with Beth at dawn and drank with Rip at dusk. She took over the branding, the bookkeeping, and the heavy lifting when Rip's back started acting up. And when a letter came from the Dutton Ranch, John's final will, asking them to come home, Beth burned it without reading it. This was home now. Epilogue. Legends in the Dust. The stories of Rip and Beth traveled like wildfire through the West. Some said she was a witch who tamed the wind. Others said he was a ghost who couldn't be killed. Together, they were a myth on horseback, carving justice into the land one broken fence at a time. But the truth was quieter. They were just two people who'd lost everything and decided not to die. They built a life in the ashes, and that life, for once, was theirs. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a screenplay, pitch document, or a series Bible.